In the United States, inflation has rocketed to a 40-year high, rising 7.9%, Lisa, in just a year. Our North America correspondent Carrington Clark has more from Washington, D.C.
Basically, everything you can think of that American households are buying are steeply going up in price month after month. And now we've got an extraordinary figure of 7.9% rises in what's called core CPI. And this is supposed to be a basket of goods that represents regular purchases by Americans. And that is now running at the highest price increases in 40 years, since 1982. And what's worse for Americans is a lot of the products that are going up the most are those products that they need to buy, core staples. So we're seeing the cost of food go up. We're seeing the cost of shelter in the form of rent increases rise steeply. But the one that's probably most apparent, and the one that Americans are obviously able to see most clearly, are the prices at the petrol pump. And we're seeing the price of gasoline in America rise steeply in recent months. And because Americans buy it regularly, and because it's a very easy thing to compare the prices with, that's where Americans know that they're being hit hardest. And the White House knows that this is a major issue for them. We've already heard today from Jen Psaki. She's the White House press secretary, and this is how she addressed the issue.
We do anticipate that gas prices and energy prices will go up. That is something that the president has conveyed very clearly to the American public. We also believe it will be temporary and not long-lasting. And what our focus is on now is doing everything we can to mitigate and reduce those prices.
These price rises are eye-watering, and you would think that they are going to play into the midterm elections that we'll see later in the year.
Carrington Clark there. Let's take a quick look at what's been going on with the global markets. Aussie futures trading down. There's a drop on the Dow. The Aussie dollar up slightly. Brent crude down slightly. Gold up. It's been all over the shop, quite frankly, all week. And those inflation figures have just added to the volatility. So we've got wealth editor for the Australian, James Kirby, here to make sense of it all. Gee, 40-year high, James. Good morning to you. US inflation.
Good morning, Lisa. Yes, a 40-year high, so it's really getting to quite an extraordinary level. That's in the US, so you've got to wonder what's the story here. Well, during the week, our economists have continually upgraded their forecast for inflation. We were looking at 3%. We're now looking at possibly 5% inflation mid-year. That's the official number. And what that means, Lisa, for us is obviously, first of all, your prices, your energy prices, you know already, petrol is going up at maybe getting up to an all-time high, and interest rates will move up now sooner than expected. If you remember, even at the start of the year, they were still saying interest rates won't move this year. Well, they are now expected to move by June, and that could even move sooner. We could see interest rates move in May.
Right, OK, that adds another element into an election campaign, doesn't it? You were mentioning petrol, price of fuel. Well, oil stocks are now more lucrative than clean energy stocks. So what's going to happen there? Where do you see that tracking?
Well, this is the big irony. This is the paradox of the year, really. The clean energy, which was a good bet, if you like, as investment for quite a long time, is now completely changed and turned inside out. If you were an oil investor in the last year, you'd be up about 16%. And if you were a clean energy investor, you'd be down around 10%. This is not what people were expecting, or indeed what many people wanted to see. The issue is, Lisa, whether it's a spike. It's to some extent to do with the war in the Ukraine. That's just made everything worse. And I think ultimately, though we know oil is going up, though we know coal is going up, and there's like a short-term profits being made there, the logistics of it is, if the oil and coal do become more expensive, stay expensive, then alternative energy looks better. The economics are better. Electric cars look better, etc.
So that kind of change with the oil and the green energy stocks, that then all rolls into the decision that we saw yesterday by the RBA's Deputy Governor to sort of jump ship, doesn't it? To jump ship. And they don't do that very often, Lisa. No, not when he was the guy tipped to be the boss one day.
He was the heir apparent to the RBA, and that job was about to come up next year. But Guy Debelle had surprised everybody and he has left the Reserve Bank to go into industry, but he's going into a very special company called Fortescue Future Industries. Just to give you some idea how important this is and how unusual it is, when he announced that he was leaving the bank, the dollar actually dropped. Wow. It's quite flattering to know that if you change jobs, you actually move the dollar. But this morning, he's announced that he's in Fortescue Future Industries, which is the alternative energy, the clean energy division of Fortescue, the big iron ore company. Already in that company is Malcolm Turnbull. He's the chairman of this group, and Guy Debelle, the RBA executive, is now going to become the chief financial officer in the same group. What they're doing is they're trying to build a world-leading clean energy group. Hydrogen, for instance, is their big bet, and if you think about the price of aviation fuel now, or diesel fuel in trains, how hydrogen is looking better. It looks like Debelle's timing is very good indeed.
James Kirby, fascinating stuff as always.
Thank you, Lisa.